The scream that exploded from my side yard that Tuesday morning. Man, you've never heard anything like it. I swear, it was one of those moments when you just know your life's about to take a sharp left turn, and all because Patricia Hartwell, queen of the HOA and self-appointed dictator of Magnolia Heights, decided to turn her pristine 2021 Lexus into a battering ram right across my Kentucky bluegrass for, what, the 100th time? Except this time, she didn't know I'd installed a brand new security gate, the kind with retractable tire spikes, the kind that doesn't forgive. So when those spikes punched up through her expensive rubber at 25 miles an hour, it sounded like every ounce of pettiness in the world found a home right there in my front yard. What happened next was straight out of a movie, sparks spraying 37 feet down my ruined lawn, sod flying everywhere, her Lexus now looking like it had just come from a demolition derby, and Patricia. She tumbled out in her designer suit, one heel in her hand, hair wild, and immediately started screaming about assault, attempted murder, and, my favorite, something about it being a hate crime against HOA board members. Like that's even a thing, you know what I mean? And all this played out under the unimpressed gaze of two police officers parked across the street. Guys who'd been called out to deal with one of Patricia's never-ending noise complaints about the neighbor's lawnmower or leaf blower or whatever else she decided was destroying her community harmony that day. Officer Davidson, who probably had my number on speed dial by now thanks to Patricia's campaign of complaints, just walked over slow, notepad out, already tired, and listened as Patricia unleashed her greatest performance yet, accusing me of sabotage, endangerment, crimes against suburban peace. Meanwhile, he's glancing at the clearly marked private property signs, the bright yellow warnings about tire spikes, and the now legendary tracks of her car running straight through my flower beds. You could tell the man wanted to laugh, but he just turned to Patricia and said, in the calmest Kentucky drawl, "Ma'am, maybe you can explain why you were driving through private property in the first place?" And I wish you could have seen her face right then. That exact second, she realized the world wasn't spinning in her direction anymore. I should back up a second. I'm Robert Jameson, 42, software engineer, work from home, the kind of neighbor who reads the HOA rules and actually files my trash bins away before noon. Never had a violation, kept my head down and my grass green, and for a long time, that was all I wanted: quiet, order, a nice koi pond in my corner lot. Just breathing easy in my own little slice of Magnolia Heights. But then Patricia decided my life was her business. She'd been HOA president for 7 years running, mostly by default, since nobody wanted the headache. 5'3" of pure, weaponized entitlement, always dressed for tennis, never actually played tennis, and every email she sent felt like it should come with a "bless your heart" at the end, you know? So, 6 months ago, Patricia got tired of the guest parking situation for her infamous Wednesday wine and wine gatherings. Seriously, the only thing more relentless than her social schedule was her desire for control. So she started directing her guests to cut across my side yard to reach the overflow behind our row of houses. The first time it happened, I was in my office, looked up, saw a Range Rover carving a deep rut through my grass, and when I stepped out to ask the driver what the heck she thought she was doing, she just blinked at me and said, "Oh, Patricia said it's fine. This is the route for special guests." I mean, come on, who hears that and just goes along with it? So I go to Patricia's. She's got a wine glass in hand. It's barely 2 p.m., acting all shocked that I'd even bring it up. Tells me my property's strategically positioned for community use and that I should feel honored, like my yard is a public park or something. I explain, nicely at first, that it's private property, but she waves me off, hands me some ridiculous community optimization proposal she'd printed out, which just so happened to include converting half my lawn into an official HOA easement, like it's her personal monopoly board. After that, it just got insane. First it was 1 or 2 cars, then it was a whole parade every afternoon, Range Rovers, Teslas, even a beat-up van one time. I put up a little decorative fence, they drove around it. No trespassing signs, gone by morning. I placed massive decorative boulders along the edge, and Patricia hit me with an HOA violation for unauthorized landscaping, slapped me with a $500 fine, demanded I remove the hazard, and when I showed up at the next board meeting to protest, Patricia just smiled and lectured me about community flow. The board? They all nodded along, clearly too scared to cross her. That's when Patricia started hosting her optimization committee every week, which just meant 10 more cars through my lawn, trash everywhere, and swear to God, one afternoon some teenager did donuts in my meditation garden, completely trashed my koi pond's filter. When I complained, Patricia called it community engagement and said I should be proud to help raise future leaders. If you're laughing, I get it, but at the time, man, I was furious. So, I did what any reasonable, rule-following nerd would do. I documented everything. Tire tracks, garbage, timestamps, video from my security cams, a whole folder of HOA letters, even lawyer consultations. Patricia's counterattack? She found some obscure clause about maintaining neighborhood harmony and fined me another $1,000 for creating a hostile environment. She actually accused me of vehicular discrimination. You can't make this stuff up. The real twist came during her big annual Spring Fling fundraiser, which is code for an excuse to buy more hideous pink flamingo statues for the entrance. She emailed everyone, told them to use the Jameson Express route, that's me, for overflow parking. 43 cars. 6 hours. My yard looked like a tractor pull, my maples trashed, meditation garden ruined, mailbox bent in half. I'd had it. If the law wouldn't help, I'd have to get creative. Let me tell you, 2 weeks on Google and a little cash later, I had a professional install a sleek new decorative stone wall with an automated metal gate, the kind with hidden, retractable spike strips. Nothing illegal as long as you post warnings, so I put up every sign you can imagine. Private property, tire damage will occur, you name it. Sent a certified letter to the board, too, just so no one could say they didn't know. Patricia came back from her timeshare in Florida and had a meltdown, called an emergency HOA meeting, ranted about my hostile landscaping, demanded it be removed. The board scheduled a hearing for the following Tuesday, and that's how we got to the infamous Tuesday morning. She decided to make a statement, roared through my yard in her Lexus, probably going faster than she'd ever dared before, right toward the eyesore she'd been complaining about for a week. I'd activated the spikes that morning because, well, I know Patricia, and I wasn't taking any chances. When her car hit the spikes, all 4 tires burst at once. The car bucked and skidded, dirt and grass spraying everywhere, until she finally ground to a halt halfway up the stone wall, front bumper hanging, dignity in shreds. Police took statements, including 3 board members who saw everything. Officer Davidson watched the security footage, Patricia, clear as day, ignoring every sign, plowing through my yard like she was the Queen of Kentucky. Patricia demanded my arrest for booby trapping, but Davidson just shook his head and explained, politely, of course, that as long as everything's clearly marked, private property isn't a crime scene. The fallout? Patricia's insurance company took one look at the footage, denied her claim on the spot, intentionally trespassing, no coverage. The damage? $12,000, not counting custom paint. The tow truck driver? Nearly peed himself laughing. By sundown, the story was everywhere. Patricia Hartwell, toppled by her own hubris and a few strips of steel. The emergency HOA meeting still happened, but instead of crucifying me, it became a full-blown vote of no confidence in Patricia. Unanimous, 12-0. Turns out, I wasn't the only target of her reign of terror. New president, Harold Simpson, a retired judge who'd clearly been biding his time. First act, formal apology to me. All properties reaffirmed as private, refunding $30,000 in fines Patricia had issued over the years. And it wasn't even over. I sued Patricia for damages, civil suit for harassment, emotional distress, property damage. The evidence was overwhelming. Her own lawyer told her to settle. Full restoration of my property, restraining order, hefty monetary settlement, enough to fence the whole place and take my own trip to Florida. But the biggest twist? The DA pressed criminal charges, trespass, vandalism, harassment, 43 documented incidents, all on tape. Patricia's plea deal, 3 years probation, 500 hours of community service, none with the HOA, $15,000 in fines. The judge, who happened to live in a neighboring HOA and was no stranger to petty tyrants, also threw in anger management classes and banned her from any HOA board for 10 years. Patricia's meltdown in court was the stuff of legend. Face going from pink to deep purple, sputtering about injustice and discrimination against dedicated community leaders. And when she wouldn't sit down, her own lawyer yanked her back into her seat. The judge tacked on another 1,000 for contempt and made it real clear. Break probation, it's straight to jail. And that's how the Queen of Magnolia Heights lost her crown. I got my peace back, a proper fence, and a neighborhood that finally remembered what community actually meant. As for Patricia, well, rumor is she moved out, and the new owner of her house planted native grasses and wildflowers. No flamingos, no drama, just quiet. Now, here's what I want to know. If this happened to you, would you fight back or just let it slide? Is justice just getting even? Or is it about drawing a line so nobody gets run over, literally or otherwise? Let me know what you think, because if you've ever lived under an HOA, you know this is just the tip of the iceberg.